Hey, happy Friday, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the weekly $100 million producer panel with me and Andrew Cady. And as you can see, I'm in a hotel room today in Cincinnati. We're meeting with some of our great Cincinnati loan officers and building some relationships, which, hey, one of our big core values here is building relationships with each other. So, and then Andrew is down in sunny Florida. So I know Andrew's got a lot to talk about today. So I'll let Andrew kick it off here.
Oh man, yeah, I'm just so beyond amped right now. I had an opportunity to talk yesterday with Barry Habib. I was interviewing him, and then what turned into a 10-minute interview turned into 30 minutes of just banter about what's going on in housing, but really going beyond that. And we got the conversation going of being an advisor right now, and this, I don't know, it fired me up so much. The opportunities that are out there if loan officers are willing to work, and that's the key. Like, gone are the days right now. Like, we're going to walk back in my opinion, to a super strong seller's market. I had a buyer last weekend. They put an offer in. It was a property listed for sale in Atlanta, Georgia, $475,000. My buyers came in. We put a $495 offer. We waived financing contingency. We waived the appraisal contingency on a 14-day closing. And they lost to a $575,000 all cash, no inspection offer. And if we're walking back into that market, gone are the days that loan officers can say, here's your pre-approval. Let me know when you get a contract.
Absolutely.
Gone are the days. Right now, we're going to deal with sellers that are bound by golden handcuffs. Google it. Forbes has written an article about it. Yahoo News is all about it right now. Sellers are being created into accidental landlords because they have this 2.6 interest rate or a 3% interest rate on their home, and they're not interested in selling. But as Barry and I were talking yesterday, the conversation came up that right now, personal savings is at one of the lowest points it's ever been at in history. There's only been 4 or 3 times in tracked history that personal savings has been as low as it is today. And credit card debt is at an all-time high, with interest rates averaging on your credit cards of 22 to 24%. And so sellers right now have debt. They're laden with debt. And they have this 3% interest rate on their mortgage. Well, if we can be advisors and we can start talking to them and building out blended rate calculations that say, hey, you may have a 3% on your mortgage, but you also may have a blended rate between all your credit card debt, your HELOC, and your auto loans of a 5.875. And you selling your home today, using the capital to pay off your high interest debt and rolling some of the proceeds forward into your next purchase could actually put you in a financially better situation. Now's the time that we've got to step it up and be big time advisors. Sorry, I'm fired up about it today.
Obviously. No, that's great, though. I mean, I couldn't agree more. And I read that, I can't remember if it was in Bloomberg or Forbes or one of them, the golden handcuff thing, because I saw the headline. And I thought it was funny because in this industry, we always talk about the golden handcuffs as signing bonuses that some of the big retail lenders give out. And then you're stuck there for 2 years or a year. But it's true. Homeowners right now are not selling. I mean, people with a sub 3 rate is like, why would I sell when I can turn it into an Airbnb or turn it into a long-term rental? I mean, it's like people are like addicted to that rate and they're nervous to give it up. And we have to teach them it's okay to give that rate up, and honestly, I was thinking about my own situation. I mean, we're not even remotely thinking about selling because, hell, we just built the house a year and a half ago. But I was thinking about the fact that I've got a rate that's 2.625.
I have. Same one.
And it's the reason why I was going to pay cash for the house. I didn't pay cash for the house because why would I? I got a 2.625 rate. And if we were to decide to move tomorrow, I would not sell my house. I would turn it into a long-term rental or probably turn it into an Airbnb because I'm in a resort area.
Right. But you're also probably a good steward of your debt, and you're probably not sitting on $100,000 in credit card debt. We're not talking about, the anomalies. We're talking about the average consumer right now. Yeah, they got this 3% mortgage, but the last 12, 18 months has been hard on the average American. They've decrease their wages, not by lowering what they're paid per hour, but the number of hours worked per person right now is shrinking.
Yep.
So right now you have inflation driving costs up. You have people that are building credit card debt. Their savings are dwindling. And there's huge opportunity for those who want to work. But this is not going to be the easy road for loan officers going forward. It's going to be a lot of work and a lot of fun if you want to tackle it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, we really focus and preach purchase relationships here, which we should, and we always will, because building out a purchase relationship with realtors and our partners is the way for long-term success in this business. But as you're talking about, there are refi opportunities out there. You just have to create them. Days of waiting around for refis to fall in your lap because rates are now 2% lower than what the customer has. If you're waiting on those refis to come back, you're going to be in for a long, long wait and a very, very long struggle, because even think about this. Nobody really set the world on fire in 2022 from about March on. Yes, there was a lot of houses sold, but as an average, those are the customers that are going to be back as refis. We're not going to be refining, or not, I shouldn't say we will be refining the 2%ers, but we're not going to have the 2% and 3% people falling in our laps for refis like we've had in the past when the refi booms come around. This refi boom is going to be different when they've fall into the forest. You're only going to be refining the people you did or other people did in 2022 and 2023. So you have to be an advisor. You have to go out there and create. We talk about this many times. There's loan officers and there's loan originators. The loan officers are the ones that are waiting for a refi to call them because rates fell, and it's a natural thing. The loan originators are the ones that are being advisors, like you're talking about, what you and Barry talked about. That is originating. That is going out and creating a loan that is a benefit to the customer and yourself at the same time.
Yeah, and it's not the easy road. It's
no.
And here's the deal: if you're sitting around waiting for rates to drop and you can get refinances, first and foremost, rates aren't dropping. I mean, I'm happy we made the call last week, and we talked last week about, hey, lock it if you got it, because even the best advisors in the world cannot combat what these Fed chairs are coming out and saying. Like, I forget the one. I just saw the news article this morning. One of the Fed chairs came out yesterday and was like, I am prepared to see further increases in the federal funds rate just to ensure that inflation doesn't take a stronghold. And now we've broken above some serious levels on the 10-year treasury. We could go all the way back to 3.9 on the 10-year treasury. We could be in a world of pain mortgage rate wise. So if everybody was sitting here floating based on advice of this and advice of that, not exactly a wise move. If your client tells you to float, you float. But furthermore, if you're sitting here waiting for the phone to ring for your refi, understand this. Refis are going to be there, but they're going to have to be found. And if you're not out there finding them, guess who is? The mortgage industry is highly, highly, highly overstaffed right now. We are staffed up from multiple years of almost $4 trillion in business. And so there are way more originators and way less business. And the refi guys that were crushing it are going to be the ones making the phone calls to get your refinances. If you're sitting waiting for your phone to ring, you've already lost the deal. If you're not on top of your database, you've already lost the deal.
Well, and a good example of losing it is no matter unless you're watching this from the Rocket or Quicken headquarters in Detroit, nobody does it better when it comes to sending out debt consolidation, emails, spam, Facebook ads. I mean, just look around. You're going to see Rocket, and they're doing it already, sending out these debt consolidation refi ads and stuff. They're everywhere. So you got to get in front of that, because if not, your customer is going to be refining with Rocket. Just plain and simple.
Yeah, 100%. And database management is going to be more important than ever right now. Stay on top of your database. One of the top real estate or mortgage coaches in the country, I'll never forget it. I was at a presentation with him, and he said, at any point in your life, 20% of your database is doing something this year. So if you've closed 1,000 transactions in your career and you are not following up with your database, understand that 200 of them are very, very likely going to be purchasing a second home, purchasing an investment property, refinancing, or selling the primary and buying a new primary this year. And if you're not on top of your database, you're missing it. And I look back at where my business comes from. It used to be 97% real estate agents. Now it's about 60% database, because that's, if you're not on top of your database, someone else is. You got to stay on top of it right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're right, though. The credit card debt just keeps climbing. And, it's a shame, but I get it. I mean, inflation, look at what it costs to just go to a grocery store and stuff nowadays. So people that were already tight 2 years ago, but getting by and always had maybe a little extra out of their paycheck every week, now they're negative and they haven't got a raise. It's costing them $5 for gas versus $3.50. It's costing them double at the grocery store. I'm not a big price shopper because luckily I'm blessed that I don't need to be, but even I feel it. Like I look at the grocery store, I'm like, I used to go to the grocery store and spend like $60 for like half a week's groceries, and now it's like over 100, and I used to joke with my wife, like she always spent like $100 at Target. We go in Target, okay, it's $100. Lately it's been like 175 every time she goes in, and she's not buying more stuff. It's just, and so people that don't have disposable income, which is 80% of this world, they're putting on credit cards, and those credit card debts just creep up. And before you know it, they're like, oh my God, we're 20 grand and we only have a $22,000 limit. Now your credit scores are going to start falling and you're about out of money. You're out of access. And
yeah. And if you look at the chart, and I'm doing a presentation this morning, and I'm so fired up about it. I did this presentation for a realty group, just a few realtors on Tuesday, and I got off the call, and one of the loan officers that had joined, one of my teammates that had joined me, was like, we should just do this publicly. Like, we should just put this presentation out. So I was like, okay, I'm doing it. So we did like a less than 3-day notice, been blasting it out. I've been working night and day to get this presentation ready. And we've got 85 people registered. That goes live in an hour and a half. We're going live with this thing. And you start looking at the charts on this, that, the average personal savings rate in America going back to 1960 averages about 10 to 11% of their income is saved. During COVID, that spiked up to 30-some% because as lockdowns happened, people didn't have anywhere to spend their money. So their credit card balances significantly dropped and the personal savings went up. And then you see the stimulus, two bumps of stimulus go up into personal savings, and credit card balances went further down during that time. But then 2021, about June, when inflation started to rise, personal savings went from like 22% to 18% to 12%. And today it's at 5%, significantly lower than our history average. And credit card balances are now at an all-time high, just under $1 trillion. Coupling that with interest rates, on the average credit card interest rate was at 14% in June of 2021, and the average credit card interest rate today is over 23%. So not only are they putting more on credit cards, but their payment is almost doubled for the balance that they're carrying. So it is a pain point that every loan originator should be tackling. You loan officers, I don't care. Like, us loan originators are going to tackle this. The loan officers, sit and wait for your phone to ring. It's just more business for the rest of us. That's how I feel about it.
Yeah, I think the Fed right now is like in a circular firing squad, basically. I mean, they're creating the next recession with these rate hikes. They've not given the rate hikes time to sink in. We all know that. I mean, they think that rate hikes are going to magically stem inflation immediately, and they haven't, and they just keep hiking and hiking. Well, every time they hike, they're lowering the chances of people wages growing and for people to lose their jobs, and credit card debt keeps going higher. The interest rates keep going higher on credit card debt. I mean, they've got themselves in a pickle here. I mean, I don't know. Honestly, there's no soft landing coming. There's a very hard landing, in my opinion, coming. And
yeah,
this is where we can advise customers to refi, consolidate debt now, and possibly save people from foreclosures.
Yeah, a Black Knight study came out a couple weeks back, the average tappable equity, this isn't equity, this is tappable equity with a cash out refinance in the average home in America right now is $185,000 of tappable equity in homes. If you're not out being an advisor and consulting your past clients on that, I mean, it's a simple phone call. Reach out. Hey, Johnny, close your home, back a year and a half ago. I know you love the interest rate we got on it. Are you guys sitting on a ton of credit card debt? Do you have auto loans that are over 5% interest? Have you taken out a HELOC? We should probably look at doing debt consolidation, because as we walk into a recession, we could end up seeing things get tighter, and we could see labor shortages. This might be a great opportunity for you to use the equity to reset your financial position for your family.
Yeah. And even more importantly, not only that, but maybe take 30, 40 grand out and put in a savings account where you don't touch it, because a lot of these same people don't have any savings. I mean, it's been a while since I read the study, like 3 or 4 months ago, but it is mind-boggling the percentage of people that have less than $500 in their bank accounts. I mean, I say that, but then if anybody's heard me talk about 2008 and how I hit rock bottom and my roll a quarter story and all that, I was one of those people at one time. I mean, I just dug my way out of it. Most people don't have the luxury of having the type of career that you can dig your way out of. I mean, you go to work and you punch a time clock and you make $18 an hour. You're not going to dig out of that, So pull the equity out of your house, pay off your credit cards, do your debt consolidation, save $1,000, $2,000 a month in payments. But while you're at it, maybe pull 20 or 30 grand out, put it away in a savings account. That way, if Mr. Smith loses his job at the local widget store, he's got some money to live on for the next 6 months, besides a little minuscule unemployment check, which I don't know anybody in this country that lives off of unemployment checks. They're a fraction of your income, but the thing is, you lose your job, you could have $185,000 worth of equity in your house. You lose your job, there's no way attacking that unless you sell your house, because the days of stated income, stated assets, NINA loans are over. We're not giving out loans to people with no jobs. Maybe they go the hard money route and then they get royally screwed over,
Yeah.
So pull some of that equity out now, advise them, say, hey, have a cushion, unless you have a nice 401k you can tap into after you lose your job, but be prepared, because any of us could lose our job tomorrow.
Yeah, and you're dead right. I do think we're heading for a pretty hard landing. I think unemployment's going to get hit pretty dang hard in this country. And you're right. The moment you lose your job, the equity in your home no longer matters. You're either going to lose your home or sell your home. And then you're going to go rent, because now you're unemployed and you're not going to qualify to go buy another home. But you have an opportunity right now to advise your clients that it might be a good idea to tap some equity. I mean, Barry and I were looking at one scenario yesterday. Someone had $100,000 worth of credit card debt, but there's like $210,000 in equity in their home. And we could tap 130 grand out of it, pay their credit card debt off, save them $1,016 a month, plus $30,000 of cash in their bank account. And because they're currently living, they don't need that extra $1,000 or $1,016 a month. If they reapplied that back into their new mortgage payment, it would shorten their 30-year mortgage down to 14 years, 8 months. Like, these are the things we need to be going out and explaining to consumers right now, because when shit hits the fan, and it might be too late for a lot of those people. Like, now's the opportunity to get out and get this going.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a little scary. I mean, honestly, it is. I mean, I'm scared for others, I should say, because we are going to see a lot of job losses. We are going to see interest rates stay up a little bit. And, I was talking to a loan officer. I was at an AIM event last night. I'm in Cincinnati meeting with our offices here. And I was talking to a loan officer that I've sort of known for a little while, not very well, last night. And he was just telling me how bad he's been struggling the last year and a half or so. And I was asking him what his percentage of business was. And he's like, well, I'm trying to find some realtors now, but I was pretty much always refis. And he's like, well, he just never, and he got into business in 2018, and he just never saw the day that refis would completely dry up, in his opinion. So now he's out there trying to do debt consolidation because he just never planned for it. So even if you're that refi monster, as I call it, that never did purchases, find a way to go out there and originate these. They are there. They are absolutely there.
Yeah, they're definitely there. But again, it's not going to be the easy road. This isn't going to be like, oh, hey, your interest rate's at 5. I can refinance you to 3. Here's a net sheet. Go get it done. This is going to be a 45-minute conversation and working spreadsheets for them and using debt consolidation toolkits and using blended rates to show them what they're actually paying. And this is going to be work. And if you're not interested in doing the work, then you're in the wrong industry, because gone are the days where we're just, throwing mud at the wall and seeing what sticks. I mean, I remember back in 2020 and 2021, like if a client looked at us sideways, we're like, yeah, probably not a best fit for us. We'll go find another loan officer. We got enough business coming in. Like I remember those phone calls. Well, I had a guy that was like clear to close on his transaction, and he made my processor cry. And I was like, yeah, I don't think we're going to close your transaction. We're not a good fit to work together, because I had 60 other deals closing that month. Gone are those days where you can just pick and choose the business you want. Now you got to dig deep, and you got to really get nitty gritty to get any kind of business going.
Yeah. And you can't, like you said, you're going to have a long 45-minute conversation. You're going to have to build the story to show them. If you just call them up and say, hey, I understand you got 3% interest rate. I can show you how to save $1,000 a month, but your rate's going to go to 7. They're going to hang up on you or just say, no, thank you. You have to build the story before you ever reveal what the actual rate is. You need to start that narrative and talking and going through it and showing them how to save this money and what it can do for their future and how they can, have a nest egg. But avoid that conversation about that rate right up front, because if you lead with that, you're done. I mean, because all they're going to hear is I'm doubling my interest rate. And
yeah, on these conversations, stay away from the term interest rate. Dive into monthly savings. What if I could save your family $1,100 a month, give you $1,100 a month of expendable cash that you currently don't have? And here's what that looks like. You right now have a 3% interest rate on your mortgage. That's an amazing rate. But when we calculate everything else that's involved and we do a blended rate on it, you're actually at 6.5%. So if we refinanced your mortgage today, took the equity out to a 7%, it's only 0.5% higher than what you're paying right now. But it could settle out all of these high interest credit cards. And keep in mind that if the Fed keeps doing what they say they're going to do, your credit card interest is just going to continue to go up. And the balances are going to continue to get bigger. You're going to be fighting a losing game. At least the mortgage is going to be a locked, fixed in rate that isn't going to change with all these Fed whims. Like, that's the message you're selling.
No, absolutely.
It's that old, if I could, would you?
Yeah.
If I could give you an $1,100 a month of extra money in your pocket, would you be interested in talking? If I could, would you?
Yeah. And again, this even goes into the purchases. You gotta, even if it's a purchase deal, you got to put rate out of your heads. You've got to sell them on the service. You got to sell them on everything, and then come in with the rate. This has nothing to do with debt consolidation, but yesterday I spent about an hour and a half. I think it was right about an hour and a half with one of the Cincinnati teams here. We have a couple teams here, and for an hour and a half, it was me and Chad Catani and the Cincinnati branch. And we talked about different strategies of, how to help the listing agents see your offer better. We talked about all the typical strategies we've talked about on this show many times, right? And you know what impressed the hell out of me about this group? We talked about all the different struggles that we're overcoming with low inventory and everything else and ways around it. Not once in that hour and a half did a single person in that room mention interest rates, even though yesterday was not a great day for MBSs, because I give Justin and Robbie, the branch managers in that group, credit. Like, they have their people originating, not just being order taker LOs. So for an hour and a half, we talked about every strategy, and they didn't bring up interest rates because they're not focused on rates. They're focused on originating loans and providing a service.
Yep.
And we need to get everybody out there in this business focused on that.
Yeah. And I've said it a dozen times. I don't know if I've said it on here or not, but the human mind has a finite amount of energy. We have a finite amount of energy when we wake up in the morning until we fall asleep at night. There's only so much energy that we can put out. Yes, some people have more energy than others. Anthony Casa, for one, the guy's like, seems to be limitless, but I've even seen him at the end of the day be like, good Lord, what a day. And here's the deal. If you wake up in the morning and you spend the first 3 hours of your day struggling, fighting, fretting, worrying about things you cannot control that are impacting every single person in your industry equal, like mortgage rates. Everybody has the exact same MBS we deal with. We can't control it. But if you spend the first 3 hours of your day miserable about it, how much energy have you wasted? How much time have you wasted? How much thought has gone into that of negativity, rather than saying, you know what, it is what it is. I'm going to focus on what I can control. And that's how many people I talk to. If I make 20 phone calls a day, have 20 conversations a day, that's 5,200 conversations a year. I can capture 1%. That's 52 real estate agents that can send me 10 deals, 10 referrals a year each. That's 520 referrals. I can close 230 deals off of it. Like, it's just a math game. Get your head out of the sand and go work. Yeah. Quit focusing on what you can't control.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you let the uncontrollable control you, you're done. You're
done.
And again, it's just like not paying attention to the competition. I mean, who cares what the competition is doing? Focus. You put your blinders on, focus straight ahead at what the goal is for you and your team, and let the others do what they're doing. I mean, again, I get it that sometimes, we need to look at a Veterans United LE and compare and try to sell against them. But that's different from sitting in chat groups talking about Veterans United or one of the other brokers that we compete with or whatever. Yeah. I mean,
I couldn't agree more. Head down and work. It's been the funniest thing since I've kind of transitioned out of originating as much. And now I'm into building a branch and building a team. I'm recruiting a ton and I'm talking to a ton of originators. And it's so funny. People ask me all the time, they're like, hey, do you know this originator? Never heard of him. They're like, oh, he does like $60 million a year in your backyard. And I'm like, never heard of him.
Sure.
I've just never focused on my competition. I've always just had the chin down, let's go mentality, blinders on, and focus on what I can do. Focus on me, focus on my controllables, my actions, what I'm doing today. And I don't worry about my competition. Now, I kind of wish I would have paid a little more attention just so I'd be better recruiting now, but I'm happy I did what I did because it's the way to build business is chin down and go.
Yeah. I mean, if that guy did 60 million in your backyard last year, that just tells me that there's probably 600 million worth of business in your backyard.
100%.
A good example in Arizona, it's funny, as much business as I did inside the greater Phoenix area for years, Lisa London, Matt Oliver, friends of mine, they're on the other side of town of Phoenix, but they did even more than I did. And I think in like 5 years, me and Matt realized that we competed once or twice. I mean, that's just how much business is out there. You've got, between the two of us, there's probably 400 million in loans closed in 2020. And I think we ran across each other one time.
Similar situation with John Adams with Loan Depot in Jacksonville. I was doing 100 million. He was doing 100 million. I don't think we ever saw each other's LEs, not once.
No. And I have to add, in case Matt watches this, I won that deal, Matt. Remember that.
I love it. Oh, look at this. We are almost out of time already.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
We did a whole show on refis, which is interesting, but very, very important, which is great because we always talk about purchases. This is something that I'm glad we had the discussion about today. So
I couldn't agree more. This is the opportunity right now. Get your head out of the sand, become an advisor. If you aren't signed up for an MBS highway type service, this isn't a plug. We're not sponsored by MBS, but that's who I use. And so I'm familiar. The debt consolidation toolkits, the blended rate calculators, if it's them or it's something comparable, sign up for stuff like that will give you the tools to be able to give a good presentation. You can do this on an Excel spreadsheet, but if there's tools that are out there and it costs you 75, $100 a month, and you're getting 2, 3, 4 deals a month out of it, it's a no-brainer to use the amazing software that's out there to really cultivate and be able to put together a solid presentation for a client.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, that slow down and take the time to educate these people. Don't rush through it. Build out that story, as I like to say. You have to tell the story to them for them to be engaged in it. And then on the flip side for purchases, build those relationships. I mean, it's funny. I just listening, just sitting around listening to others talk sometimes, like I was last night in a large group of mixed, it wasn't our team. It was just a mixed group at a name event. And just listening, I can hear a lot of the mistakes that originators are making, and it's not that me or Andrew have all the answers. I mean, we don't. I mean, if we did, we would be doing $1 trillion a year ourselves, but yeah, it's just slowing down and taking the time to educate people.
Yeah. And the only other thing I would add is get with your real estate agent partners and have the conversation with them when they reach a seller that has golden handcuffs. Ask them to loop you into the conversation so you can look at the financials of the seller, see if they're laden with debt, do a blended rate calculator, take the golden handcuffs off of them, give them light at the end of the tunnel that, they may love their mortgage interest rate, but hate everything else that's going on. And if you can give them a path forward, that real estate agent is going to be a lifelong diehard fan of you.
And we're going to go over by a minute or two here. I can see, so I don't care. That's fine. I just popped in my head. You can use this debt consolidation method. You reach out to agents that are having trouble getting listings and say, hey, if you have a customer that is thinking about selling their house, but they just won't because of those golden handcuffs of 2.75 or 3% interest rate, offer to go on that listing appointment with them and show that seller, I know you don't want to give up that 3% interest rate, but how much credit card debt, how much auto debt, how much is your debt? Let's sell that house, buy the house you want, put 10% down instead of 25% down. And I'll show you how you can get into that new house and have a way lower monthly cost algo, because we use the portion of your proceeds to pay off other debt, and you can blend that into their new house. I mean, and let me tell you something. If you have agents that are struggling to get listings because of those low interest rates out there, and you do that, you'll have an agent for life if you help them get a listing or two just by showing the customers how to put less money down on the next house and use the rest to consolidate.
Yeah, I have a slide in my presentation today that says we all know debt consolidation refinances. It's time for us to learn debt consolidation purchases.
Yeah,
because that is going to be the way we get rid of golden handcuffs.
Yep. So true. Well, we're over time, and but that's okay. Good subject matter today. I don't think anybody's going to complain. And guys, it's Friday as always. Reach out to your agents. Let them know you work when they work. Let them know you're around this weekend. And I'll let Andrew take us out.
Answer your damn phones, guys. Get out there, be an advisor. Go after listing agents. The golden handcuffs are real, especially when news articles start getting written about it. Then you're going to start to get home sellers or home owners that put themselves in that category because they read the article. So once the news articles hit, you're going to have a whole nother round of people that say, oh, yeah, that fits me. I'm not selling my home. So this is going to get really, really tight inventory as we walk into the summer. Be an advisor, reach out to your agents, go on listing appointments, go to the end of the world to build relationships, and this business will work for you.
Yep. Well said. And thanks for everybody putting up with my hotel room lighting. It's not the best, but we'll be back to our normal. Well, no, we won't be back. We'll be back next week, but I think we'll both be in hotel rooms, or maybe Andrew will be back at his house. If you guys are in the lower Florida, southern Florida area, Andrew will be at an event next Thursday, I think it is, with Anthony Cossenberry. Habib. Great event. I'll be in South Dakota, of all places, at the Windsor event. Never been to South Dakota, so I have to admit I'm a little jealous. You guys are down in South Florida. It's probably a funner location, but I'm excited. South Dakota is somewhere I've never been. I've been in Florida way too much. So
that's where I was born, in South Dakota. So you're going to my home.
And in the end, this is all about relationships. So, that's what really matters. So I will see you guys next Friday, and have a great weekend.
Take care, guys.